Okay, this is my first video blog. Just got off of work, super tired, so if I seem super tired, it's because I am super tired. I'm talking about Ulmer's 5th chapter in Internet Invention. It focuses on the entertainment discourse, which is the discourse that we're moving on into. He says that the entertainment discourse is our first, individual identity from leaving the home, and he says it is also the motivation for leaving home or leaving the family discourse. And I really like the anecdotes that he puts in, because sometimes I feel like I'm missing what Ulmer's trying to point out, but the anecdotes that he chooses really exemplify what he's trying to say, and I think it really helps me through the chapters sometimes. In the first set of anecdotes, my favorite was Barbara Bruegel's interpretation of the Blob. I think that each anecdote, if you read it close enough, can kind of say something about the person that wrote it and about, their fears. I think Sam Shepard has like sort of a self-consciousness that he just realizes for some reason after seeing the movie Veracruz, and I feel like John Carson's might be some sort of realization of his own mortality, maybe. But either way, my favorite's the one about the Blob, and she gives 3 reasons for being frightened of this movie, and they are the idea of being eaten, the indefinability of the Blob, and also space. And I feel like her overall theme is being afraid of the unknown, because she's afraid of this constantly changing, monster. She's afraid of, I guess, whatever would happen if you got eaten. She says it's not something she's ever thought about, so it would, I guess that would be unknown as well. And then space. She talks about how the adults around her don't even fully understand the idea of space, and that makes her just really uncomfortable. And I feel like what's more important about those anecdotes is it's not about explaining why they made you uncomfortable, but really kind of portraying that feeling of, like, especially I think Sam Shepard does it really well. He portrays that feeling of, just realizing that, oh, my teeth are bad. Like, I never really thought about it before. But, and then, Ulmer goes on to talk about method acting, and, how a belief system, affects, who you are and how you react. I picked up on one thing that he said. He talked about engaging mind and body, and I feel like a lot of this chapter is about engaging mind and body, and not just doing so in our writing or in person, but also digitally, like online. And I feel like this idea of mind and body is both, because we're English, a lot of us are English majors, it's hard to think about the aesthetics rather than just, the ideas that we're putting forth and the words that we use. It's hard to think, oh, well, color makes a difference, or, images can really help out. And I feel like that in digital literacy, engaging mind and body, is just both engaging, like using the information that we have and putting that out there, but also doing it in a way that kind of we exhibit it rather than tell it. And I think he hits on that point again when he talks about the Elvis impersonations, because when you're doing an impersonation, you don't walk around and say, I'm Elvis. You portray Elvis, you have the visual aspects of Elvis, and people can tell what that is. And I think that Ulmer's asking us to do that in our entertainment discourse, as well as in our other discourses, but especially in this one, I think, because the assignment was something along the lines of portraying a certain feeling, or a certain feeling about a movie, rather than explaining why or anything like that. He also goes on to talk about, I liked the ideas, the other anecdotes that we read. I was kind of confused about the Greg Bordowitz one. I really liked the idea. It took me a little while to understand it, but I really liked the idea of like a collage kind of metaphor. But it took a while to understand exactly what I was reading. But I really liked Vivian Sobchak's and her juxtaposition of kind of her own ideas about being old, and then directly after that, well, she talks about being old and putting on blush that, you know, is just too young for her, and like she just doesn't fit the way she doesn't fit like what she's trying to portray. She's trying to portray youth, but instead it just seems like a misplaced, kind of sad, pathetic youth. Like, I don't know. But then juxtaposing that with this like terrible wasp woman, this monstrous woman, I feel like was a really interesting choice, and it really got the point across. Ulmer also talks about tables, which I found kind of confusing. I followed a little bit of it, but some of it I didn't really get. I went into the office section of the book, and he said that the table turning was supposed to emphasize the role of special effects and virtual rhetoric, but I feel like a lot of the table stuff that he talks about is just the same thing that he was talking about earlier, where it's focusing on not just the information but also the visual aspects, because we see death tables, dressing tables, truth tables, and table turning and seances all as a visual kind of interpretation or a visual way to represent what's going on. And I think that's overall kind of what he wants us to pick up on in this chapter, is just like the importance of giving off that, like, giving off an emotion, or giving off, you know, a feeling in a way that isn't just saying, this is how I felt, or this is how you should feel after reading this. But yeah, way over on time. Okay, bye.